So a lot has happened since the announcement of the next-gen consoles. From PlayStation's live stream, where they showed off a bunch of the new upcoming titles, and the first look at the PlayStation 5, to Xbox showing us the Series S, which is a weaker version of the Series X. Who comes up with these names? However, despite the issues that have arisen these past weeks, like the PlayStation pre-order fiasco or the horrible pre-order day launch that Xbox just recently experienced, I think there's something that I don't see a lot of people discussing, and that is the possible price point for a majority of these next-gen games. Well, at this point, it's not a possibility, it's really a reality, because PlayStation announced that its games would be around the $40 to $70 price range, and we can assume that Xbox is going to do the same thing. There's a lot I want to discuss, but first, let's do some math so you understand why people are a little bit concerned. So let's say you buy roughly one game a month. So on average, you would spend $60 a month and $720 a year. However, with the increase of $70, you end up doing $840 a year, so you can kind of imagine the big price differences. With that being said, it's already a lot asking for $60 for a game, but with the price increase, expectations are at an all-time high for consumers. Now this issue is really aimed at the companies that release yearly titles to bank on their loyal fan base to purchase the game every year. Now the biggest offenders are the yearly sports titles. Now most of you probably don't play any of these games, but you must have heard about the news that some of them have been springing up lately. So for starters, let's take a look at Madden NFL. EA releases this game every year with little to no innovations added to the game, and with their newest release of Madden NFL 21, I think fans have finally had enough. If you go on Metacritic, it's literally the worst rated game of all time, so it just shows how much fans are not really liking the game. What's even more of a shame is that EA has not addressed any of the issues that the fans have been raging about, and expects us to turn over $70 for a chance to experience a couple new changes. And it's not just in Madden, it's also in NBA 2K. Fans are complaining about gameplay issues since release, and now people are using modded controllers to make all of their shots. So majority of the fan base have the consensus that we will just wait until the next gen to actually enjoy this year's basketball game, which in return sets the expectations very high. Now of course this isn't only affecting sports titles, however they are the biggest offenders, but games like Marvel Spider-Man and Call of Duty Cold War have been sparking up conversations. Now if you haven't seen my video on the Cold War Alpha, make sure you see it, but to keep it short, I actually enjoyed the game, but I found I'm actually part of a really small minority of people. The community thinks that the game needs a lot of work and isn't that much better than Modern Warfare 2019. And my concerns with Spider-Man Miles Morales is how similar it looks to Spider-Man PS4. It's natural to be skeptical of what developers can bring to the table. And what we've seen in the past couple of years, I think some developers don't bring enough to warrant a $70 purchase. Now of course the main counter argument is the fact that we're paying for the upgrades, or that because it's new gen, the games are magically worth more. But in my opinion, when I pay for a new console, I'm paying for the upgrade. The space, the graphical improvements, and all that good stuff. But when I'm paying for a game, I'm paying for the content the developer is willing to provide. So when you start adding aggressive microtransaction, it kind of devalues the game over time, especially with these yearly sports titles that I mentioned earlier, that completely null your progress the next following year. So all the money you spent and all the time you spent is all gone once the next title comes out. Like, I really think it's ridiculous that games will release for full price, then bombard us with microtransaction. And what's worse is that most of the purchases are required for us to enjoy the game to its fullest, just for them to repeat the exact same process the year later. Okay, so I'm getting a bit ranty, so let's look at some positives. I think we are slowly seeing developers stray away from aggressive microtransaction. Well, some. I like how Call of Duty is handling the battle pass, even though I don't agree with the $20 skins, but it's a start. Also, we have companies like CD Projekt Red who promised they wouldn't upcharge any money for a next gen upgrade. On top of that, they're selling Cyberpunk for $49 on Amazon. My hope for next gen is that companies don't use the same models they were using for current gen. Hopefully they adopt more consumer friendly tactics that warrant the new prices. I want to mention that the point of this video isn't to complain about a $10 price increase. But from the responses from my Twitter, which you should totally follow, the link is in the description, there are people who think even $60 price points are not even worth it for some of these games. I think the fact that we're already spending a quite bit of money on the next gen consoles, and if you guys didn't know, all the next gen consoles, in order to like completely utilize the graphic power, you need to be playing on a monitor, because most regular TVs can't even utilize some of the next gen capabilities. So I'm praying that developers make games that are worth the price upgrade and not ship unfinished products like what we're used to seeing. So that's going to wrap up everything I had to say on the topic. Now I want to hear from you guys. What is your take on the price increases on the next gen games, and have you secured a pre-order for the next gen consoles? Also, if you're new here, don't be shy, hit that subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like. My name is Quasi, and this is Just a Game.